great. That's great. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk about the principal fellowship. I'm going to talk about the case formats, and I'm going to talk about the experience and the challenges that I faced and how I initiated this principal fellowship. So I'm expecting that all of you, after this session, I'm confident that then you will feel that, yeah, oh, this is the PFHEA. These are the things that I have to keep in my mind. These are the things that I can do. And these are the things which I have to learn. So all of that we're going to talk about in today's session. So let's formally go to the second slide. Now, UK higher education standards and promotions. So if you're really working in the UK system and you're really planning to have your promotions in your teaching career, you have these standards, which I have gone through and I have worked on them. Quite a few I have achieved. Number one is the advanced HEE, that we have associate fellowship, then we have fellowship, then we have senior fellowship, then we have principal fellowship. The second one is about UCOT, UK advising and tutoring. So they have also three categories: that the principal, the professional advisor, then senior advisor, then recognized leader advisor in advising. And then we have the ALT. This also equally good for the promotions in DMU. I check the DMU promotion policy. So if you have advanced HE principal fellow or you have senior fellow, then you have certified member of ALT or senior certified member of ALT. That will also help you. Then of course we have the last one is CEDA, that the Staff and Education Development Association, that they have also two categories: fellowship and then senior fellowship. But this is just why I gave you this background, because most of us will always initiate some of the things in our professional life for the promotions. Of course, you deserve promotions. For that, you need to know what DMU offers and what DMU is looking for from the faculty members. So here we go now. This is what we are going to talk about. In the advanced HE, we have four categories. The associate fellow, then the fellow. Now, the point which I'm going to focus over here for your understanding, the foundation understanding is, when you talk about the fellowship, we are looking for our teaching experience only. Faculty members, junior faculty members, or you can say early career people, they want to go and they want to know how their teaching is about and how they comply their teaching with British system or with inclusive, with their experience and all that. When we talk about the senior fellowship, that's about the mentorship. And I'm very happy quite a few in this call, they have already achieved their senior fellowship. So that is about your mentorship and impact. You become a senior academic in that university or in your experience. Then we have the final one, which is the highest category. That's about the principal fellowship. And this one is about your strategy, your mentorship and your impact. So when you know your teaching and you become a senior into that, then you have to find out what could be your contribution. At that time, you have to design the strategies. You have to design some policies. You have to formulate some criteria, and that criteria which you have taken initiative, and then you implement that in your department or in your university where other people can take the benefit from that. So that'll be like a professional fellowship with the highest category of the senior leadership. So if you are a senior leader, then you definitely can initiate that. If you have had the opportunities that you've been leading the department, this is good for you. If you not have these all positions or the roles in your career, then this is not good idea to go with the principal fellowship, because that will be difficult for you. You have to justify your positions. You have to justify your role. You have to justify your contribution. You have to justify your impact. You have to justify your influence within the university and beyond university. And that I will talk in a minute about this one. So this is just a bit introduction slide that's talking about what advanced HE offers and what is your role and how you are going to advance to the principal fellowship. And then we have these terms. So I will take quite a few minutes on this one to make you understand, to discuss this. What are the terms that you need to understand, and you need to find out where you stand, and these terms should always be learned, understood, and implemented while you're thinking about the application for your principal fellowship. So these are very important terms which I'm going to talk about. Number one is the sustained one. Now, this is about, in the sustain, we always talk about that if you have done something last year and then you gave a gap, uh, this year you have not done this, the same role which you started last year, but you're not having this at the moment. So it means that is not the sustained role that you are having at the moment in the next year. So this should be from 5 to 7 years. Normally, with the PFHE application, they allow you that if you have been taking your roles and you've been in this position from the last 5 to 7 years, 5 to 6 years preferably, that is acceptable. But if you go beyond like 8 years experience before that, or 9 years, it might possible you may get delay in your application approval. So 5 to 7 years are the good one. So you have to sustain one. So I'm saying in this particular point is that you have to sustain, you have the continuity, you have the sequential order that you continue, that how you go ahead with your role. So this is number one, which is about sustained. The second one is about effective. You have to show that your leadership practice is very effective and has an impact on high quality learning. So when we talk about the effective, is that how you improved the university policy, university teaching, or university mentorship. It's not about the mentor that you're directly doing with your students, because senior fellowship is that you're working directly with your faculty, you're influencing your students. But the principal fellowship is that you design a policy that you have designed, you have a strategic role into that one, and that policy had an impact. So that is the thing that you, because of your policy, because of your project, because of your experience, because of your strategy which you planned and supported university, that has a very salutary, a positive impact on the faculty members, and later on those faculty members have their influence on other faculty members, or maybe on the students as well. So that is about the effective term that you need to understand. And the third one into this one is about inclusive. Now, inclusive is about that you have to ensure that all learners and colleagues feel respected. Now, this is one of the things that most of the universities, most of us as members of faculty, we follow that, and we have that, and we have to maintain this inclusive thing. But how do you record this? How do you show the evidence that you are inclusive? So you have to come up with some examples that you had while you're training, while you're stuff. For example, if I kind of design a policy today, so my policy is so clear, it has a clarity that's not only providing the mentorship, it's not only providing the strategies, not only providing the policies, but that policy has some clauses, some items, some references that this policy will maintain the equal opportunities for everybody, will value people, and people feel respected about that one. So this is what you have to put in your application. Sustained, you have all experience from 5 to 7 years, the same role you have. So you are the experienced person maintaining that one. You sustain that one. And then you showed how effective that was, because it has contributed something, built an image of the university, enrollment enhanced, faculty produced papers, all of that, that was effective. But within that, whatever you have done, that was also about that learners and the colleagues, they felt respected, valued, and everybody had equal opportunities for that. So these are the three terms which I have just mentioned. Now I'm going to go to the fourth one. That is the active commitment to and integration of all dimensions. You know about those all dimensions. We have areas for activities, we have core knowledge, and we have professional values as well. So I'm not going to talk about that one that you already done with your FHE and the senior fellowship. What I'm saying in this particular point is that while your application, you got 3 case studies or you got 4 case studies. So all of the 4 cases, each case must reflect all of those dimensions. You have to draft your case in a way that your case 1 continues that one, covers all those dimensions of PSF 2023 in one case, second case, third case, and all that. So if you miss out any of the thing, and I'll show you that how you will put the criteria of that you're achieving these or dimensions or not. So I'll just show you the slide later on. And then you have the final impact. So you got sustained, you got effective, you are inclusive, you are committed in all those cases, you have maintained those dimensions. Now you have to give an evidence of your impact. So that impact what I'm talking about is a strategic leadership that evidences a significant influence, your effectiveness. You will also need to demonstrate that impact of any leadership example you do have, but then you have to put this impact. In British system, I have this experience of many years, though I have more experience in American system, but I learned British system. So that's why I got this UCOT RLA, and then I got this principal fellowship. I did the fellowship, I did the senior fellowship, then I did the principal fellowship. I have learned one very important thing in British system. If you want to be successful in British system, you have to produce the documents which are as per the guidelines of the authority. For example, I'm sure if you read the guidelines given by Advanced HE and you follow specifically all specifically, and I'm sure that you will get your application done. Because in British documentation, and the document with the documentation, one of the important thing is that they are not interested what you've been doing. Like you got experience like 20 years. I've been 22 years. I got this one. I got this one. That's great thing you have done. What was the impact? What was your contribution? What was that you made a difference? What changes you suggested and that has positive impact on the university? All of those things that if we have all of those things, then we are showing the impact on our application. So if you really good in the documentation, you follow specifically the guidelines, and then you have seen the impact of that, so everything going to be positive. So these are the terms which I have just mentioned for you to be careful when you draft your application. Now, if some of people who have done their senior fellowship, that was descriptor 3, because that was about mentorship. This is 4th and the final one in the advanced HE, in the principal fellowship. And what is that? That is about engagement in strategic activities within and beyond. So there's quite a few things I have covered in the D41. So why I have taken this now into, before I told you just terms, now D41, D42, D43. Because when you're writing your case study, you have to identify, like, if there's a case study of 1,750 words, if you go in for the 4 case studies for the 7,000 words. So you have to, in that 1,750 words, so you have to cover these all 3. So you will say that this was my sustained and effective leadership of higher education practice that I did, and that had the impact on my institution or my discipline which I am attached. Maybe I'm from finance domain, marketing domain, HR domain, or operations management domain, whatever the domain I belong to. And the second one is about the development and implementation of effective and inclusive strategies, which I've just talked about. So it's a D41, D42 that shows that my policies or my initiatives were inclusive. D43, it's all that you have to maintain your cases in all dimensions, like areas of activity, core knowledge, and then professional values. Now the most important thing comes now. That is about the D4, who you are. Who is Nadir? Who is Dr. Rahul? who is Miss Barira, who is Dr. Fatima, who you are. So you have a role. In D41, which I just mentioned in the previous slide, here I'm talking about in D41, you have to see yourself. You have to identify yourself, who you are. You are an experienced individual. You have a sustained record of effective leadership, which you have the role for 5 years, for 4 years, for 7 years, and you continue that role into that. I'm going to talk about roles in coming slides as well. So you are experienced individual. If you think that you're not experienced individual, you didn't have any role like that one. So it's not a good idea just to, just to spend your time on this one. So it's a good idea you keep learning, but you have to know what you are. The second D4, 2, who you are, that your practices are very effective and inclusive. So my slide, this second slide, third slide, the fourth slides which I've talked about, there are quite a few same things gonna come, but the terms are a bit different, but the ideas are different because you have to go with sequential order. You have to practice so good that you don't leave anything that may delay your application. And T43 is about your practices are effective in all dimensions of areas like professional values and knowledge and areas of activity. Now here comes the understanding what you should expect, what is the application, what is the requirement. So I want to pay attention to this one because this is the crux slide that help you. So in principal fellowship, we got 7,000 words for case studies. And the principal fellowship that I have just talked about is your strategy, mentorship, and impact. You are a senior academic. You are a senior leader in the university, in the college. In the statement of context and strategic leadership, you have to produce 500 words, not included in 7,000. It's just a context you have to what you have done, what is about. And then the second one is the one which is the most important idea, that you will know what strategic educational impacts or areas you have listed down. And that's about 250 words, not included in 7,000 words. So what is included in 7,000 words and the case studies, you got an option. You got 4 case studies and you got 3 case studies. If you want to go with 4 case studies, you have a case 1, 1,750 words, then case 2, 1,750, then 3, then 4, like that. And this will total 1 to 4, total will make like 7,000. And references 500 words, which is again not included in 7,000 words. But if you want to say that I don't want to go with the 4 case studies, I plan to go for 3 case studies. Well, that's great. No idea, no problem with that. So if you want to go with the 3 case studies, then you have to increase the word of your case studies. So approximately 2,333, 2,333, and 2,334. So you make it 7,000, one number there. But I'm not saying that you have to exactly follow this 2,333. You might be 10% or 5% plus minus, no issues. That if you add like 2,400 in the case 1, and then you have like 2,200 in case 2, that's okay. You can go ahead with that. And the 4th case is optional. As I said, the reference of 500 is not included into this one. So the principal fellowship of higher education is about 7,000 words, and the list which I have just given you is about you understanding so that you can plan well. Oh, there are 4 case studies. So from today, you start thinking that which are those 4 case studies I can write. Now you might ask me what I should write in the case. How can I decide what is the case about? And that's coming on the next slide. This one. So all of you, please focus on this slide because this is the crux slide that will give you your plan of your application. You have to decide what kind of example of strategic engagement you're going to list down in the principal fellowship of your application. This is my experience. These are some of the things which I have mentioned, which I did. It's a copyrighted. Quite a few things I've written from my application as well, but this is just for your guideline. I have written here, for example, university lead or faculty lead on quality assurance. You can write something else. And if you have any role, like you're a dean of faculty, you're a head of faculty, you're a subject lead or your program lead, and you've been for many years, you can tag that role as well. There's no issue with that. But these guidelines I brought it for your understanding. If you say that you had a university lead role or you had any role in your position, which you continued for 4 years or 5 years, so you have to mention here in the period which I have mentioned over there. You can see in this slide, August 22 to October 2024. So it means that was the time that you've been having this strategic engagement in your career. So if you have that thing that you've been there for 5 years, you have to write a case about that. But if you have not had any position like this one, you can't write that because that will not help you in your application approval. So this is number one, university lead or faculty lead you can talk about. The second one you can talk about, just an example for you, that you were a faculty lead or you were department lead on industry collaboration. And what was that time? Maybe in August 19 to July 22. This is just for an example. I'm trying to just to give you foundations, just to give you the sequential points that you can add in your application. And then you will mention that, okay, that is the case one. You will cover that in case one. The first point you will cover in case three, maybe, or the fourth point you cover in case four or something. So this strategic engagement will help you to actually start off your application. Number three, if you see that you've been a director or you've been a lead on teaching and learning, like Miss Barira is doing this department, like in teaching learning, and she's heading and she is doing these all workshops, arranging workshops and everything. So you can say that somebody is a head of department and leading these activities. You can add over there somebody who's a subject lead, like some people are colleagues in our university. They've been subject lead for 5 years. So they can mention that I've been subject lead and this was my role for the last 5 years. And then I have achieved these all things. And within that case study, you can put the details which I have covered in D41, D42, and D43. So sustained, effective, and inclusive, and impact you have in that role which you had. I had the opportunity, I was lucky to work in different universities, and I was the member of the university council. Being a member of the university council, you have your say, you have your contribution into that. And when you have that contribution in that, your contribution was taken as an impact in that university, you can utilize that. I was lucky enough that I've been invited as a keynote speaker in different countries. I've been traveling to different countries to be a keynote speaker. So that's one of the things that I was a keynote speaker in one of the international conference, a global conference, a global research forum, a global HR tech conference. If you've been invited like that, that's also contribution. And what is that contribution? Because you presented, because you shared your experience, because people value your experience, and you've been doing this one, and people learned that from you. People had got some of the technical strategic points from you, and then they're gonna apply in your professional life. They're gonna go back to their university. They wanna apply that in their own academic professional life. This is what the impact you have left on them. So these five, I have listed only 1 to 5, but these are not limited. You can go ahead. Normally the application which I have seen, online application, because I applied on my own, online from the advanced HE website. Over there, they ask you 1 to 6, 1 to 7 maybe. You can go ahead 1 to 8, no issues with that. You can go ahead with 1 to 4, no issues. But I brought these examples for you from 1 to 5 just to make you understand that these are the uh, examples, these are the points of strategic engagement that you can initiate right now. Now, I'm not sure how many of you have the similar roles or similar positions which I have just mentioned in these points. You might have something else you can add over here. But be careful, the any position or any point, any example of your strategic engagement which you come up, there must be within 4 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years, that's okay, but 4 to 5 years, 4 years, because 4 years give the 4 years give you an authenticity that you've been in this role. You have been contributing to your university. People kept learning from you for the last 4 years or 5 years, whatever the case may be. And then you see, I have written there, after this table, you can see example case study 1. For example, if you have taken the strategic leadership industry immersion in the curriculum, for example, then the related RSEI, record of strategic educational impact, you can mention, oh, that one. So all of these strategic engagements which I have mentioned over there, they're also complied with case 1, either case 1 or case 2 or case 3. So for example, I have given this one, like for example, this was case 1. So you see, I have written there 2, 3, 5. So it means case 1 was covering number 2, faculty lead industry collaboration, number 3, director lead on teaching learning, and number 5, which you had contributed as a keynote speaker, a strategic leader, or the academic director you've been somewhere. So you have to follow this 2, 3, 5. So this I just brought for an example for you that you have to put 3, 4, 2, 3, 5. And you see, when you write over there, you'll come to know that these are not 2, 3, 5. These are 4 to 6 or whatever. So you can continue with that one. And after that, in the table after that, I have mentioned over here the dimensions, which PSF 2023 dimensions for the principal fellowship. You have to put, oh, that was A1, 2. Okay, this case study covers A1, like areas activity 1, 2, 3. Then you say core knowledge, just 1, 2, 3. Or then you will say the professional values 1, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3. So you have to go up to 5. It's your choice. So that's why, because I was focusing on that each component, each case study will cover your sustained strategy. It will cover your evidences, how much effective you are, and that's gonna cover about your impact within, your university and then beyond university. So that is what this is. The slide which I have mentioned over here will help you to draft your application. If you miss out this, it means you are just scattered. You are deviating from the original industry you do have. You are just beating about the bushes. You're talking about this one. There's a point required, but then you're saying that I have got this experience. I have done this one, not required. You got this experience, but then list down the things. What was that experience had really contributed something good, It's very easy for me. I'm sorry to mention this one, but that really help you in your application. It's easy for me to ask any people. I say that, how many years you've been in this university? People say, I've been here for 15 years. Oh, 20 years, 10 years. You said, that's a great thing. Can you please mention, can you list down quite a few things that you're really proud of, that you launched some projects, launched some initiatives in our university? So some people will come, yes, I did it. I did that. So I did. So if you did, if you had launched quite a few projects, that was your example of a strategic engagement, which you have to list on the left side, which you can see. But if you say that I've been here for 15 years, no, I've been just teaching. I didn't have any positions. I was just teaching. So in teaching, you have only one strategic engagement that you've been teaching. But the teaching, impact. Of course, when you become a senior, it might possible then you have mentorship for your faculty, for other university faculty as well. So that was your one contribution. But if you didn't have any position, so you have no idea. But if you think somebody has not done anything, so I'm sorry, then the application may not be favorable to you. So that's why I just mentioned these all points for you. So 5 points I mentioned just to conclude this particular slide. 5 points I have mentioned, you can go ahead with 6, 7. And the case studies I have mentioned over there, 3, you can go ahead with 4. And of course, when you fill in your application online, so fourth case, if you don't want to write the fourth case, that's okay. Then you have to mention in the online, because application cannot move to the next page unless you put over there not applicable, or just mention that it's not, there's no case study, which is NA, you put in that system. So there's no fourth case. But if you got to decide that you have the fourth case as well, so then you have to put here fourth case, and then you will comply, you will match, you will map all of the things which I have just mentioned there. Yeah, up to this slide, if anybody has any question, anything, I'm sure in the end you might have some of the questions, but at this point, if anybody would like to ask anything, you are most welcome to ask. So if this is clear to you, you can use the team's reactions and thumbs up and everything. That makes you interactive that you are there. That's great. Thank you very much. So this was about the record of the strategic educational impact, which you have just learned. But this about you. This page is really good one that will have a heads up for you to initiate your application. Let me go to the next one, which is another important aspect that you got to learn. Now here, now, I was lucky enough that I had a background of writing quite a few case studies, and my participation in the North American Case Research Association, and then my interest as well. So it was not that difficult for me to write the case studies. But this slide I brought to you just to make you understand that what case study is actually, which case study, how can I write a case study? You see, you might have teaching cases, that's 5 to 15 pages we write, and they're mostly narrative ones. And then we write some of the decision cases, which are from 5 to 10 pages, and they're decision based. And then some of them problem solving and analytical cases, which are theory based or application of model and everything. Your PFHEA application needs to be analytical, not descriptive. 100%, obviously not descriptive. You cannot describe that this thing has happened. You have to analyze, how did you do? Why did you do? How did you initiate? Why did you initiate? What was impact? What was challenge? What was solution? So when you have a little bit background of these case formats, which I mentioned in blue color, you will understand that, okay, I'm going to write case study, but I need to understand what that case could be. And in the PFHE application, the cases which you will write is about mostly decision based and the problem solving case. For example, analytical case. For example, you launched a project, you launched a project, and then you have certain things in that project. You wanted, why you launched that project? Because I wanted to improve faculty teaching. I wanted to improve faculty approach in writing case studies. I wanted to improve faculty in being effective business management faculty, or computing faculty, or IT faculty, whatever. So how effective you are. I wanted faculty write the papers in A category or Scopus index, whatever. So you launched a project, you launched something that you might have an impact. Let's suppose your students are not getting enough jobs. Your graduates are not getting enough jobs. Who initiated industry immersion? How did you initiate that? What did you do with that initiative? Because when you had taken that initiative, you've been analyzing the situation. You've been recruiting people. You've been working people. You've been mentoring people. You've been convincing the university apex, the board management to tell them these are things I have to do that will have an impact to get jobs to our graduates. So those kind of case studies will help us that how my case or my description in D41, which I had because I did this in one university for 5 years, for 3 years. So I launched the project and continued that one. So it has the impact again. It's always difficult to start any project. It's always difficult to initiate something. But once you initiate that one and you achieve something, then the university, good universities, they always institutionalize that one. So next year, they just have the continuity of that one. For example, we launched this case center in demand for university. So now we have institutionalized thing. So you have the background, you got something, you have the foundation. There is somebody to guide. There is somebody who's available. There's somebody to mentor, somebody to have interaction with that. So that thing will help us that how the analysis or problem solving or decision cases you can write into that one. So that will help you. And the other cases I have just given you here as an example, you can see about a short, quick cases and fictionalized cases. PFHE do not accept the fictionalized case. So you cannot say that you drafted a situation very fancy, a very good situation, and you say that that situation was that you initiated and you want to draft any situation and apply for PFHE. That's not a good idea. That will never work like that. So that is, of course, not required. Research case, no, it's not research based, though we have the 500 words references we can give, but you should add that in text references you can do in your application, and many case situations as well. Now, many case situations can help in the main case you're writing, like 1750 or 2333, whatever the case option you have chosen. So in that case, 2000 words, you will add D41, D42, D43. So in that one, you can manage that I'm gonna write 3 brief or mini cases, like each D41, D42, D43. So that will help you, that you can do. But the points which I have mentioned over there in red color, these are just guidelines, but not required for the PFHE. Well, what PFHE is required, I have given you an example of those cases and styles which are mentioned in the blue color. Sounds good? Any questions so far up to this? That's great. Thank you, Dr. Rahul Jain. You're very active. And thank you. Appreciate thumbs up. Thank you very much. Anybody else has any question? Though we recording the session, we'll send to the faculty members later on as well. The next one, very interesting. I'm going to share my own experience, that those who are in this call today, they will really learn something important, because those are the things which I have taken from my own applications. Oh, but before that, yes, before that, we have these case formats and analysis for the professional fellow, the principal fellow of the Higher Education Academy. And the case which you write, that should be analytical but very professional as well. How you will write the case. Now I'm going to give you scenario. I'm going to give you sequential pattern that you can draft your case. opening scenario, like out of those 1,750, either 1,750 or 2,333. So you decide one case you have taken. So within that, the opening scenario should be 50 to 100 words. I'm not sure if anybody has having little background of writing cases for the case journal or IV or North American case research journal. So they always write a very attractive opening. You're writing a case. You have to show the situation. You have to tell them how you initiate this project. You cannot say that I just thought about this project. What prompted you to write that case study? What actually motivated you to initiate that case? So you had something. What motivated you to write that case? So you say, okay, the case. I was in a meeting where the president asked me to actually do something for the university, for the faculty, or for the students. So you started that thing really prompted me, or you saw that our university needs some support, or any project you want to launch. So that prompted you write that 50 to 100 words about that situation, the opening scenario. And this is recommended. It's not that fixed that you have to write 50 to 100 words. You can go ahead, 110, 120, or maybe you can just limit up to 60 or 70, your choice. That's not limited over here. And the second one is about why did you do that? How did you do that? That's what I was talking about in the earlier part of today's session. How did you do that? You did loads of things, but how did you do that? So there are 1,200 to 1,300 words recommended. And this will cover your D4.1, D4.2, D4.3. Because then you will mention that this was the situation which you launched, and then how you covered up in D4.1, and this was sustained for many years or continued. And then you will give us an idea, give it the idea and the application, by the way, idea that how it was effective. And then you see that because of that impact, because of that initiative, the impact of my application was very much visible within the university and beyond the university as well. And what is the within and beyond? I will talk about in a bit, as in a minute as well. But these are some of the things we have to learn, that focus and learn that within and beyond impact has always been mentioned in your application. And that's what the impact which I'm talking about internally and externally, that should be approximately 800 to 1,000 words recommended. Not that, but recommended. That should be 800 to 1,000 words. You can go ahead with 1,200. You can go ahead with 800 or 700. But manage, but balance it, balance it. Do you know what? One of the most important thing I want to discuss over here, when we give students a report, for example, in Demandford, we have the portfolio, submission portfolio of 3,000 words, or 1,000 words. In 3,000 words, for example, we ask students to write a report. Some students, what they do, they just utilize all of their word count in just introduction. Let's suppose 1,500 they have used. That's not required unless they read the assessment briefs and all that. If you utilize all your word count in a very good introduction, but the crux, the body of the case is missing over there. And that's the same thing I'm going to talk about over here, that if you have a case study, you decide that introduction, body of the case, and conclusion. So introduction keep less, situation and the opening paragraph keep less, because your application will be evaluated mostly on the body of the case, the crux of the case, the achievements, the policies you launched, the strategy you mentioned, the sustained record of your strategic leadership that you have mentioned, that should be visible in the application. So that one is good, and keep the conclusion as well, the least one, because then in the conclusion one, which I'm talking about 800, 500, whatever. So you will give the idea that how it impacted on society, impacted on the students, impact on my university image, impacted beyond my university. And that thing will be visible by the evidence of the pass rates, impact rates in your application. What are those pass rates and impact rates? Impact rates actually about that faculty survey enhanced from 60 to 80%. The enrollment increased. Faculty produced more case studies and research papers. University employability increased. You have to mention because of you, because of your strategy, because of your initiative, you have been able to achieve that impact rate which you do have. That was within university. And beyond university, people followed it. What could be beyond university? For example, you produce one paper on higher education, one paper on teaching, one paper on flipped, one paper on case study. So other universities following your paper, your guidelines. Or maybe you've been a keynote speaker. Maybe you conducted workshops. That was impact that you suggested and other universities are following it. And I guess that's what I mentioned about the British system. They always love to have your impact. What you've been doing, that's a great thing. We appreciate that. But what difference you've been making, what impact you've been bringing, that matters a lot more than what you've been doing. So this was about the case formats and styles of the principal fellowship. And if you really planning the principal fellowship, you have to work on the similar lines which I have mentioned over there. And my experience is that I always write what I did. So let me share my experience, what I did. So it was a requirement, like I took 3 case studies. So requirement was like 2,333. So I had written a case, and in each case I had written up 3,000, up to 9,000 words I had written. And then when I got the second review myself from the application, when I'm just writing something, you keep fine tuning, you review yourself. Then I decided that these are unnecessary sentences. These are some of the paragraphs, 3,000. I saw my case. I say I have written 3,000. Right, that's a great thing. You have 3,000, but then you can see, you decide yourself. No, this paragraph, I'm not sure. I'm not happy with this paragraph. Why I'm not happy? Because I learned the PSF 2023, all dimensions, they are not being visible in here. So if not visible over here, there's a problem in the case study. So I kept the case here. Then I kept the areas of activity here, core knowledge, professional values. Then I keep looking there. Is it achieving? Not achieving? Remove it, remove it. So come back when I reduced, the wording, removed unnecessary paragraphs, I came up with only 1,500 or 2,000 words. It was initially 15, 1,600 something. That's that's great. And now when I fine-tuned this, now I have 1,500 words in one case study. I need 700 more, for example. Now I have the clarity in my mind. I have the clarity in my mind that how much time or how many words I've given to D41, how many words I'm gonna give to D42 or D43. So I have to skip some of the paragraphs. I have to add something over there. And then just for guidelines to my old colleagues here, and then you see that your case you have written and there's nothing in the impact. All beautiful case, great. I have done a great job in the case, but there's a zero impact of the case which I have written. Useless. So I have to add. I have to pick things from my case and add into the impact to ensure that the case is really good and it has effective, inclusive, and it has the impact there. But if it's not inclusive, for example, I cannot say, I give you this example in coming slides as well. I cannot say that my lecture was inclusive. No, you have to see what did you do, how your lecture was inclusive. Who can record this one? Which activity was that? How did you drop that activity? How many students were there? What is the policy of the university? What did you do? How did you initiate that? What was the time of that lecture? What did you? And later on, what did you do? Did you improve or you changed it in next class? And then you continued. You sustained the whole activity which you had. So if that is the case, then definitely you have a wonderful case format. But if it's not, then it's going to be very difficult for you to manage to write a proper application. Make sense? That's great. I'm so happy to see your thumbs up. Appreciate that. So this was about case format and style. I'm sure you have now an idea what is that principal fellow could be. Now we move to the next slides. We have quite a few slides, very important discussion slides. But let me cover quite a few things more. Then I will ask you and take your questions, please. The next one, my colleagues, the next one is my example. The example I have taken as a copyrighted few of the things which I have taken for your learning, because we are having this mentorship session for our colleagues, and we want our colleagues to advance in the applications. For that reason, all the things which I have explained, and now I'm going to tell you about how you can write your opening. Obviously, I'm not going to give you full application. I just want to give you some examples. So here we go. Some of my personal examples, copyrighted, and I'm going to share here for mentoring purpose only. You cannot take this one, but it's like how you initiate that one. So the first I will write is strategic leadership context. So when I write a leadership context, and this, by the way, this is not included in the word count. And you know, this opening like context, which you write for 500 words. But that should be so professional, should be so accurate, so focused that when you're a reviewer, by the way, in PFHE, we have 4 reviewers, like in senior fellow, maybe 2 reviewers, but you have 3 reviewers. So when your reviewer will see that, who you are. I mean, you have to write in a so tactical, professional, focused style that can get the attention of the reviewer that who you are. For example, I had written this one. For the last 22 years, I had a strategic position as program leader, director case study center, program manager MS PhD programs, cluster head for HR leadership division, champion of SCBSB accreditation, and Dean College of Business at various universities in UAE and abroad. So you can mention that you have worked in other countries, quite a few countries you worked, you mention over there, because PFHE reviewers are so good, they know everything about you. I don't know how they find you, but they know that. Whatever you write, they know. They already know where you work, which university you are affiliated to, and they know what contribution you have done. They can understand, they can browse, they can check even. So you can share your experience because you're talking about sustained. I've been here for many years in this country, but if you are new in this country, just you have spent your 5 years, but before that 2 years of the same position you have in another country, but you sustained it, continue, you can write this. And you mentioned, I put over there, underlined over there, just to eye-catching kind of sentence for the reviewers. Many of my responsibilities involved
So most of the things which I mentioned above, like all of the positions which I mentioned, so I'm now telling them many of my responsibilities involved strategic leadership to support faculty and enhance student learning. Why? Because you want to tell them I'm now a strategic leader. I'm applying for principal fellow. So I'm the senior academic, senior professional in the university. So my all strategic initiatives or leadership styles which I had done, they were only meant to support faculty and students as well. So this is just an opening. And to be effective in that, this is what the advanced HE is about. This is what in the first paragraphs I have written that what I've been doing, what I was supposed to do. You did it. How can I trust you that you have been doing this one? How can I know that one? That's why I'm excited about this slide. You will understand that how do I know and what did I do for that? To be effective in my strategic role, what I did, I completed the leadership diploma to understand the strategic leadership, like management styles and leadership. Though, of course, you have done in your PhD and MS and MPhil and all that, but it's still that you wanted to be current from any top university you have done to understand that one leadership thing. So I completed the leadership diploma from Harvard, the diploma, the strategic leadership diploma, and then higher education diploma from the Harvard University. Why? Because I wanted to show my leadership. I wanted to show the authenticity of higher educational activities. And both the programs taught me the strategic leadership and strategic academic approaches. So then now I feel I'm an authentic person to develop my application that I have these all evidences. And one of the most important thing which I learned, that was the backward design. I'm sure my colleagues know that, but any colleague in this call, if you don't know this one about the backward design is a kind of activity that you involve your students in the formative activities in the class. So you ask them what you want, what kind of case you want, what flipped style you want, what role model role play you want to have this, or what should we do? We should take the Emirates local company and we should take British Airways or we should take United Air. What should we do? So you involve students into that. So this, you learn that, and when you put that evidence, you'll tell them, I did these activities and it had impact. And then students will actually give you a survey that I learned these all things. So I'm telling you right now, you tell your faculty, you train them, your department faculty, and your faculty is going to class and following this one. So students giving good feedback to your faculty giving good feedback to you, you are giving good feedback to us. So actual impact has just happened. So this was the slide which I was talking about, that how strategic leadership context could be and how you can be effective. And whatever I have just said, this is about the context 500 words, and that is not included in the 7,000 words of the case studies, either 3 cases or you plan to write 4 cases. Now I'm going to give you an example of what should be the case of opening paragraph for your application. Here we go. This was one of the university where I worked. Sorry, I'm not, telling you the name of the university, so I put confidential. So the opening paragraph, how I had written opening paragraph in the case study 1, for example. So I'm saying here, during the midterm review performance meeting with HR and president of the university, I was asked if I can contribute to launch something that can help faculty members to adopt effective higher educational practices. So you're having your educational practices. You are doing great job. You teaching, you doing your modules, teaching, your mentorship, your tutoring, whatever. But are there some more effective higher educational practices that we can? So at that time, I proposed something, and that project is also confidential. I'm not telling you, but that I'm just giving you guideline that how you can write. Not exactly what I'm telling you right now, but of course you can have some idea that what the application look like. I proposed one project. I identified that faculty members need a focused guidance. So it means at that time I realized faculty is not being guided. There was no mentor over there. There was nobody. There were no strategy. There were no research policy. There were no case policy. There were no performance policy, for example. So focused guidance for the effective higher educational practices, practical academic activities, and effective inclusion across all colleges. I was lucky when I was heading the college. So I had the opportunity that I can lead my college. In a college had, in my college when I worked over there, it had banking, it had international business, it had finance, and it had MBA, BBA, and all that. So if you mix this all, this is your department. But then being in the university council or being a dean or being in the members of the university, so you have a contact with other colleagues as well. So you launch something, you present that in front of all deans, your colleagues, the similar horizontal levels of those all deans and heads of department. So it might possible they may take it if they like it, but they will always take it once you implement it in your own department and you saw the results, you saw the impact, and then the other people may adopt it. So this was just opening paragraph which I had written over there. So in that case, I had written, Mr. President supported the idea and directed to make the project to support faculty for higher quality learning. He was happy and asked HR to complete the paperwork and let Nadir launch this project. So I took the role of the chair in the university. So I took the role of the head of that project and then I started working on that one. So this is one example that how the opening paragraph look like. And of course, the impact I will talk about in coming slides as well. Cases are really like a great story. When you write a case, you create a scenario. Like people, when the people start reading your first line of your case, they are not going anywhere. Each line, gets them engaged to read the second line, third line, fourth line, because your story is so impressive. They want to know. Impressive, a bit dramatic, bit impactful, bit experience based, a very professional one. Then people or the reviewer, which I was talking about, is interested to go ahead and read your paragraph, more paragraphs in your application. That was the thing I was talking about. Then people supported and then why people. Here you can say I had written the president support, Mr. President supported. If somebody did not support, even then you can write somebody did not support initially, and after that I convinced them again. I drafted a policy and discussed with them, then they accepted. You can write that. You can write that. Be honest. 100% honest. What did you do? Honest. If you try to write some kind of exaggerated things in the paragraphs, people may not like that. Reviewers may not like that. So that will not be a good idea. Now the next one is very interesting. And Dr. Rahul, this is for you because I'm sure you're working on your principal fellowship. And of course, Dr. Siva as well, many other colleagues are working on that. This slide will have, that's about the impact. So it means if you have written your case opening paragraph D4, D42, D43 and all that, now you have to show an impact. how that impactful paragraph should be there. So here you will write, the faculty evaluation survey from students improved from 70 to 95% and above. The students appreciated the teaching staff for disciplined, focused learning and responded very high in the faculty evaluation. This is an example within. This is an example within. So it means in your whole paragraph, in your whole case study, that is about either 1,750 or 2,333. You will cover opening paragraph. You will cover D4.1 sustain, D4.2, D4.3 impact and effective and inclusive. Then you will cover the last paragraph, that is the impactful. And this is the paragraph which I'm talking about, the last paragraph in your case study. Now in here I have to justify this was within, but I have to justify here how it was that my strategic leadership approach has contributed varied reforms at many places. Now this is the sentence that I claim in addition to my university, many other educational institutions have added the higher educational practices that I have developed over the years. This is an example of beyond or outside. Did you notice that? So first example, I've just given you that faculty was happy or university was happy or students were happy. So I'm not talking directly to students. I'm talking about faculty evaluation, because in a strategic leadership, in principal fellowship, it's about a strategy that you did something and you had given to the faculty, to the university. They adopted and they applied, and students later on to them. They had impact. And what the beyond example, I have published those practices as my research work. So I had published one higher educational practices paper, not because of the high category journal, but because of the practices which I wanted people to know that. And that paper has been utilized by other universities. My research work has been adopted and will continue at many universities in the future as well, because you've already registered your higher educational practices with your name. So the advanced HE can refer to that you have contributed something beyond outside of your university as well. So this was something that you have to add in the paragraph as well. So this was an example of the impact which you can add in your case study. Make sense? Does that sound interesting? That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now another important thing is, now the next one, I'm telling you who you are and how you are going to write your cases, and how do you see that, how you will be able to write that. And we are approaching to the end, and we have quite a few more slides, a couple slides, just 4 or 5. You will see that what I have covered all till now will be reflected now in the next slides. And the next slides, you have to ask yourself. It's all about you. How? Let me take you there. Please focus on strategic levels, not curriculum, not class teaching. Preferably, you should have been doing the following points. And with these following points, which I have just mentioned, you have to ask yourself. You've been leading teams, departments, not teaching. You've been leading teams. You've been leading departments. You've been formulating policies. designing curriculum criteria. So I'm saying in this, you formulate a policy. Let's suppose tutoring policy. Let's suppose library policy. Let's suppose your program leadership policy. Let's suppose students communication policy. Let's suppose inclusive policy. Let's suppose the new criteria policy. Let's suppose policy of collaboration amongst the faculty members. You've been designing some of the policies and curriculum criteria. For example, it might be different than in finance, than law, than business, than IT, than computing, environment, health, might be different. So you have been like you now you should focus on what you've been doing, what your policies were there. And the third one, the most important, and I love that one, is you've been maintaining the university-wide contribution. It's not about you only that you trained quite a few faculty members, but you've been contributing to rest of the departments, rest of the colleges, rest of the schools in whole university. So you've been formulating that all, which you have in your policy. And then you have been influencing people, colleagues who later influence other colleagues as well. This I was talking about a lot in the initial slides of today's session as well. That it's not about that you directly talk to students. Of course, in senior leadership, senior fellowship, some of you might have evaluated that as well, that you're not directly with the students, but you directly with the mentors, with the faculty, and then faculty with the students. Leadership, this one, the principal fellow, it's about that influence your colleagues, influence the department heads, influence the policy you design, and then later on those people adopted that and then influence other colleagues as well. So, oh, that's great. Yeah, it's message from Barita. Anyway, no problem. Yeah, so you've been influencing people. Now the other one is next one with the fifth one is about you have been mentoring people across all schools of the university. So your policy, you can now this not all the time that everybody's related to you, like you're from finance school or IT school or law school or business school. So some of them within the college you do have, but of course there is some general effectiveness of teaching or the teaching criteria or the new teaching AI in teaching or modern teaching, then of course you have to do that. The sixth one is about your leadership work and academic practices were adopted by other universities. Like, for example, you have written a research paper. Your research paper is not about that research paper that it might be accepted by them, but your research paper that was on the leadership role you had. For example, you've been working as a dean of the college. So you say, I developed what leadership role the deans should have in the modern education. Or you've been talking about higher educational practices. So you drafted or you published a paper which was on the topics of higher educational practices. Or you've been invited as a keynote speaker in the high-tech conference, HR conference, in high-tech finance conference, a high-tech business conference, a law conference, finance conference. You can tell people because that's the role, that is the contribution you have had in your university, and of course other universities learned something from you. The colleagues of other universities learned something from you as well. So this was like not curriculum or teaching, it was all about your strategic. Quite a few more slides, a couple slides more. Focus on impact. Now this is another interesting slide. Focus on impact. Now I'm moving towards telling you what sentences you can write and what sentences you can avoid. So if I talk about that, please focus on the impacts, the institutional impacts and improvements. Like it is like you have impact and you brought some improvement in the university. Policies had a very effective result on the college performance. The capability of faculty members and students increased. For example, students did not understand how to learn in the classes. So you trained your faculty, you enhanced the capability, you helped faculty members to hone up their skills, you upskilled them on case writing, on research writing, on teaching higher educational practices. That was your impact, which you got a mention in your application. Please avoid teaching related activities, module related matters. I've been very good. I played this role. There were many students. They liked my lecture. No, that's not related. That's not required. Participation in the committees. I was member of different committees. I arrange events. No, that's not required. What is required is please focus on effective leadership decisions you made, and your decisions were effective. Your decisions had impact on the university. So effective strategy that made the difference in the university. How the image of the university was built because of your policy, because of your recommendation, because of your launch of that project, because of your mentorship, because of your leadership insight which you shared with your faculty member here or outside. That had a great impact. That is about the focus, impactful focus. Avoid writing sentences like, I help students improve their learning. No, 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 not required this one. I help faculty members to conduct effective classes. No, not required. But what you're supposed to say is, I managed to establish a professional growth and development center for all colleges where faculty members improved their academic rigor and practical teaching approaches, or enhanced enrollment, or influenced faculty produce research papers or case studies. This you can say. But the difference between the first paragraph, the second paragraphs, is that's you see, they're not interested in your teaching activities because you're talking about principal fellowship. Before you talk about in FHE, I would like to repeat this one. Fellowship is about your teaching. Senior fellowship is about your role in mentorship. Principal fellowship is about your strategic focus, your strategies which helped the mentorship, helped the university, and had a great impact within and beyond university. Always write in I voice. Don't write we conducted a training workshop. No, we can write I initiated the project and led a team of 22 people, 32 people, 100 people, 12 people, no problem. Yes, that should be the sentence which you have to write. That's great. Are you all with me? Just 2-3 slides left. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that you are working on your professional standards of your teaching career. That's a great thing. Now here is another thing, please. Very important one. Yeah, I'm reaching to the end, quite a few slides, just 3 slides more. Supporting statements in fellowship you had 2, in senior fellowship you had 2, but the supporting statement for the principal fellowship we need to have 3. So ladies and gentlemen, all of those people, all my colleagues, when they will have this recording with them, I would like to tell you that you identified 3 people who can recommend, who can certify, who can confirm your contribution. I would like to recommend you that do not ask your colleagues to write the supporting statement. Ask any colleague who had principal fellowship. Okay, you can ask them, but it's better that you ask your line manager. And even then, I recommend more than line manager is the dean of the university or the president of the university or vice president of the university. Why? Because these are the people can confirm, they can authenticate, they can recommend, they can confirm that you have achieved the descriptor 4, and they fully understand that you have achieved D4-1, D4-2, and D4-3. They can also confirm that you had a great impact on the university based on the projects which you have mentioned, based on the strategic roles you had and you have mentioned in your application. I was lucky enough in my PFHE application, I had 3 recommendations from the previous vice chancellors, and deans. And they confirmed that I worked with them 5 years. They confirmed that I worked with them 4 years. They confirmed that Nadir was effective in a sustained leadership role, either in a case launch like a director case center or the dean of the college or program leader of MS PhD or a champion for ACBSP accreditation. So they maintained that one. And then how did he deal with the faculty? The kind of respect, and he managed, and he mentioned that one. Your person who is writing supporting statement for you, he can confirm that you have complied with all UKPSF 2023 with all dimensions of areas of activity, core knowledge, and professional values. So you got to take 3 best, preferably from the head of campus or the president or the university chancellor or the vice chancellor. Or if you can't find these, because sometimes you can't reach to the vice chancellor, but you can reach to dean, and dean can certify your credentials. Who can certify your credentials? I, as a colleague, I can. As a colleague, I can. But more authority is that someone who was your head of the department can certify your credentials. So we are reaching to the end, and the next slide is specifically for my colleagues here in UAE or in UK or around the world. I'm going to put this recording to you all, is that when you plan for your professional application for the principal fellowship of HE, the advanced HE, you have to have patience. You're not supposed to be in a hurry. Just take your time. Take your time. Everything gonna come on time. But if you got in a hurry, I'm sure your application will be unsuccessful. I will never use the word rejected. The application will not be successful. So if you want to make your application successful, this is the slide especially I have designed for my mentorship purpose to all of the colleagues around the world. Can you see the slide, the colleagues who are in the meeting, please? That's great. This is the slide which is telling you do not just fill the gaps. Like I know some of you in this call, they are researchers. Sometimes it happens when you fill the gaps, you just put your quickly. That's a go. I want to know this one. No, don't rush. Avoid shortcuts. Focus and practice consistently. And if you practice consistently, you will get something. And that's why my suggestion to all of my colleagues here in UAE and UK around the world is plan, plan, definitely plan and wait, learn. When you learn all this, when you plan all of that, you have to contextualize your strategic leadership in higher education, and that will result in the impact and beyond your university as well. And you see why I have brought this in a bricks. The left side, you see there someone who's trying to fill the gap. That's it, you know. This is you are in a hurry. But you see the other slide, which is written experience and knowledge. I have no doubts. All of my colleagues, all people have a knowledge. We have a knowledge. Knowledge is the data you do have. I think everyone has a knowledge. They have a data. But the missing part is experience. If you have a right experience, you can put your knowledge in the most effective and sequential order, like the one you see how bricks are put in a proper manner, then you can build the foundations. And if you miss out this slide, I'm sure there are many people, they're so excited. I was talking about when I was asked to mentor my faculty for this principal fellow. Everybody, oh, I will write this one. Most of the people, they're ready. I can write it. But the moment you enter into a case study and you will see, oh my God, 7,000 words. How I will write? It's not about 7,000 words. I'm sure you can write 10,000. But the crux, the gist, the requirements of the PFHEA is not easy. So you have to have an experience. Talk to your mentor, talk to your colleagues, keep developing this. And I would like to share my experience, what I did. I downloaded the format from the advanced HE and put the gaps like case one, the same in the application, and then in the within the printed form I kept writing. I didn't take just a blank papers. And the most important thing which I did was about the slide which I showed you in the earlier part of today's session was about the RSEI, the record of strategic educational impact, because you decide how many roles you had and how many positions you had and how did you do that? Why did you do that? And how did you leave the impact? So this is the slide which I just brought to you for your understanding and your guidance. So we're reaching to the last slide, and that is about final thought that you got to start today. List the things, leadership roles you had in your profession last 5 to 7 years or 5 to 6 years. For example, you've been a department head, you've been a subject lead, you had a role, leadership, pass rates, whatever you do have. And then in the last 2 lines I have written over there, keep writing a few paragraphs, at least 1 paragraph every day you can write. I'm sure you can begin your proceedings. Set a target. PFHE takes many months after submission, but of course, nothing is impossible. And I know my colleagues whom I had a meeting, you know, they're so qualified, they can definitely do the wonders if they follow the guidelines. And in conclusion, I would like to say a British system means documentation. Well documented things you do have, you follow the instructions and show the impact, things gonna be great for you all. Thank you very much. I hope you have enjoyed this session. I will make the slides available for you all. I will send you that. Maybe I'll send the recording as well. But this was all from my side. Now I will take some of your questions